Hello and welcome to week 17 of web design. This is the video for Monday. So I have here the link to the article that I've been talking about for the last week or so about how to create a compelling landing page. So I'll just go ahead and open that up in a new tab so that we can consult that while we're working today. I do have the Wildcord website open here, both the front and the back end. And if you recall, on this games page here, which is where we're making our initial landing page, we have some text, and this text is pretty solid. The descriptions of the games and the links to where you can sign up for them on the convention. But then over here are just some generic galleries that we put in. And I think I'm going to replace these galleries with just static images and then put some text here, and then we can look at the article to see what kind of information is there for us to use to beef up the page a little bit. So, like I said, there's a gallery right here. If you click in this little section, you can see the galleries being brought in there. But what I can do is I can right-click on this section and I can simply delete the gallery if I just don't want it to be there at all. This thing that says image gallery, I could get rid of this as well if I want. And then maybe I can just drop a big old image in over here. So let's do that. Let's go to upload our files. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna hunt this bad boy down. Let's see. And it is not where it's supposed to be. So, oh, there it is. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so while this is uploading, there you go. We can click Insert Media. And the nice thing is it's just going to fill up that space, right? Let's see, image size, and this is large, and caption, link, none. Let's link that to the media file and see what happens there. So I can press preview on this, launch a new page, and let's see what happens. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to happen. So by linking this to the media file, which is the actual picture, let's see over here. Yeah, when I change this link, which was none, to media file, then it put in the lightbox as default. And a lightbox in web design software is basically a pop-up image gallery piece of software. So that's why now when you click on that picture, which was just dropped in there, you get to see the blow-up image, which is exactly what I wanted. So now I could also add a little description underneath this, possibly. Let's see if we go back here. Let's see if there's any sort of captioning options here. Well, okay, not that. Oh yeah, actually, yes, exactly that. Caption. So we could say screenshot of Skyros in tabletop simulator. All right, let's see what happens. Well, so far the big nothing. So okay, so that might help in certain scenarios. Well, actually, I think we're gonna have to put another just a text section down here, but I'll go ahead and preview it and see if it brought our caption in. Yeah, I didn't expect it to. So, all right, so now let's go. We'll just look around here a little bit. So, style. I don't think they're going to give us a caption in any of these advanced options here. Okay, great. So now we'll go here. We'll go to our little text editor. We'll see if we can't drop a little text thingy right after this. Might be kind of hard. We might have to figure out where we're gonna. Oh, there we go. Awesome. So Now I can use the same text I typed in there. It's so hard to grab it over here. You got to grab it over here. So say screenshot of Skyrose in tabletop simulator software. I guess I'll say in the tabletop simulator software. Okay, so there it is. And then we can always center this. It would be nice. Okay, screenshot of Skyrose in the tabletop simulator software. Let's see. I think I just want to say in tabletop simulator, because if you don't know what that is, you can make a logical guess based on the name of it, and if you do know what it is, then we don't need all that other stuff. So let me go ahead and preview this. Okay, so now we have yeah, screenshot of Skyrose in tabletop simulator. Now, unfortunately, this would be much nicer if this top of this were lined up with the top of that, and I think putting that in may have hosed me there. In fact, well, we'll copy this in case we want to paste it back in. And then let's delete this section and see what happens if this thing jumps up. Or maybe there's some space here I can get rid of. Let's see. It sure doesn't look like it, but okay. Let's just experiment. So delete this. Yeah, sure enough, that jumps up. So that's not good. We don't want to do that type of thing. We want these to look really good. So we might consider putting in here. We might just say something like, let's see, over here, convention, and then we can say right, as in, you know, the image to the right. We could even put it in parentheses. And of course, you can look out on the web to see how people do this, or even, yeah, I don't think I like the parentheses very much, so I'm going to undo those. I want to look at, see what italics looks like. Oh, shit. Okay, let's go like this. Oh, I see. I'm trying to grab it over here and do the change over here, so that's not what's working. It's a little confusing. I think I'm just going to try and get in the habit of always working over here with my text. So that's okay, you know, making it, you know, italics like that. I wanted it to be a little different from this. It could be a different size font, or it could have the parentheses around it or anything like that. But, you know, let's take a look at it. But I definitely didn't like the way that putting it underneath messed up the formatting of everything. So let's see if we refresh this. Oh, let's see. That didn't work because I didn't update it. I just tried to preview it. So let me go over here. Okay, now that I've updated it, showing the preview. And see, this is much nicer because this almost kind of reaches down to the bottom of this. It goes a little past it, but that's a much nicer distribution of content to the left and the right. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put some text up in the top here. This is just, if you recall, I was just taking blocks of text and dumping in here to kind of serve as placeholders. So what would be really nice up here, since we've got these pictures on the right, what if we had a little like thumbnail picture over here on the left, and then some text that described the game system, and then of course we just need to get another image happening over here on the left or on the right, and then, you know, put in a similar thing like that, a little description there. Okay, so let me go ahead and grab the text, which is going to go in here, and the image. Okay, so I've got to go grab my text, and the text is right here. So it says, Wildcore is a medieval fantasy strategy game system developed to be played as a set of traditional board game adventures and also as online adventures in Tabletop Simulator. And then that's a link to the Tabletop Simulator software. The scenario is the magical musical world of a neon. Wild Court includes original heroes and villains, monsters, character classes, weapons, kingdoms, spells, and much more. The land of Aeon has a rich history, but a terrible war, excuse me, between opposing forces has been raging for 100 years. I think I can get rid of this comma actually because it kind of breaks up the sentence. So obviously, the better your grammar is, the more fluid the text will read, and that's really good for a website, of course. So, you can use certain software programs like Grammarly to improve your writing and your text, but also it's a great idea to show your text to somebody before you post it on a website, just to get what's called a second pair of eyes on it, because they might find some little mistakes like that one, or not necessarily mistakes, because grammatically that's valid, but it's an improvement. And if I were using Grammarly right now, it almost certainly would have caught that. Okay, and then the last sentence here: players must decide whether to align themselves with good or evil forces in the game, and use their strength and skill to help bring the war to an end. Okay, so I got to recopy this because I took that comma out. Let's copy that. Let's go back to the website, and let's go somewhere where we can paste some things in. Okay, so if I click here, and I get in the habit of working over here instead of there because it's really hard to do things in that little box. Okay, so I can paste this information in, and then there it is. Now, of course, when it comes to web pages, people, they tend to scan, not necessarily read web pages, unless they're things like articles like the New York Times. So you want to keep your text short. So, for example, I could probably get away with these 2 paragraphs and nuke this one. Let's see you see what such a small amount. There's 3 quote paragraphs in this area here, but they're very small, very short. Even this column is very small. So it's like a bite-sized piece of information that you can read, and then you can check out this picture and even click on the picture. We could, if we wanted to, over here we could say click to see full-size image or whatever, but and that's always a good idea to give a little extra information like that, because some people won't know to click on it, but it depends on what your intentions are. Is it really important that people click on it? Do you think the average Joe or Jane will click on it anyway just to see if it blows up? It's up to you, in regards to that. So for this, like I said, this little sentence here, it just kind of seems to be hanging out on its own. Let's start by adding it to the previous paragraph. Let's see, players, where is it start? There. Okay. Yeah, so that looks a little better immediately to me, just because that paragraph, or that sentence that made its own paragraph down here looked kind of weird. And of course, when we put an image in here, it's going to push everything over, but then push it down, so it'll get even a little bit longer. Okay, so next is to grab an image that can go in right here. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the picture that's going to go in here. When you put pictures in, especially if you want to be able to have people click on them and blow them up, you need to put them in at the largest size they're going to be seen at. And so, and then you can do the kind of what I did here, which is make this a light box so that it brings in the thumbnail image to show on the page, but when people click on it, they see the big image. So you have to insert the big image, upload the big image, and then the software will take care of making the thumbnail. So the question is, how big should I make it? This was a vertical image, and I'm sorry, horizontal image, and that's a pretty nice size for it. And I believe this is about 2,000 pixels wide. But it's probably only about 1,500 pixels tall, or maybe even 1,200 pixels tall. So my next image that I'm going to put in next to here, and of course you can see that looks a little different from this because we haven't updated it. That was the old placeholder text. So if we go in here now, you can see that, right? But now I have an image. The next image I want to put in here is a vertical image. So I got to figure out the size for that. So let's do that. So this is my image that I want to put in there. And of course, it was created at 300 pixels per inch for printing, which is too high, excuse me, for the web. So first thing you have to do is cut this down to 72 pixels per inch. And then we have to get the height to be something that will look good in this browser. So let's start, I don't know, let's start too big possibly. Let's start at 1500. Well, that actually doesn't look too big to me, just for grins, but you know, maybe it's not showing it at 100% right now. Let's try 2000 just for giggles. Okay, that looks really good, but let's see what it looks like when we do this. Now, you always want to check to see what percentage you're looking at something at. This is saying that it's 100%, and it pretty much fills up my whole screen. Let me make Photoshop a little bigger. Yeah, that's, you know, exactly how I want that thing to look in the blow-up version. So let's go ahead and save this bad boy. Okay, so we'll call him Iron Cat 1, just in case I have another one floating around. We'll save him as a ping on the desktop. And then we'll go back to here and back to the Elementor page we're working on. And now we want to insert an image over here. So, you know, the question becomes, do we want to have another column over here, right? So, let's see. We could right click here and click add new column. And then we get another column, but of course it drops it over there. So, but you can see this is kind of nice actually. The way that it smushes this text together is just like down here, and it looks like it's less text, even though it's exactly the same amount, just because of the way it's formatted. So we can cut it out of there, and we can put it in here. Hello. If we grab our text editor and drop a text box in here. There we go. Paste. All right, there's our text, and then there's a box over here. Wow, looks like there's a couple of columns there. Okay, and so this is where we can put our picture. So we've got to go to our widgets here, find an image, and hopefully drop this in somewhere. Here we go. All right, there we go. There's our image. So now we can click on this. Notice, by the way, let me close this for a second. Notice that it said, you know, image size, and it's giving you all these different options. You know, one of them could be full, which would be the actual size of the image, but you know, I'm a little worried about that. I think that maybe if I just choose this large size, it might not. I'm concerned about it because I'm concerned it'll make the width be the width of the image, which means that since it's a tall image, it would get super tall. But sometimes you just have to experiment and see what happens, right? So let's see, we got to upload files. And of course, we can always change the size of it. Let's see, so we want to go to Iron Cat 1, which is going to be down here. La 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 la. Can't see it quite yet. Okay. Da da da. HI. Oh, I just saw it. There it is. Okay. There he is. I think he's going to be too big. But what the heck? Let's see what the software wants to do. Okay, so insert media. Yeah, that's exactly what I feared. So, yeah, see, it made the width too big. So we got to change his size here. We got to get him so that at least his thumbnail is basically coming down to the bottom of this text here. So we'll click on this and we'll try some different ones. So how about this? Let's try medium. Oh man, that's like perfect. All right, that looks great. Now, we also want, looks like there's a little caption option here. I hadn't noticed that before. Let's see what happens if we add a custom caption in this, if it's going to blow the sizing away. So we can say Iron Cat. Okay. And then the link, of course, this is where we want to link it to the media file. Now we can update this, and you can see like that iron cat sticks out below the paragraph. So I have a couple options. Like I could, I could go to this text box over here, and I could make that. I didn't really like it when it looked like this, but sometimes there's a reason to do things, um, like return back to a previous format. See if I knock that paragraph back down here, it looks a little better because the text is all squished together, so it's not quite hanging out as much as it was. But if I do that, then I'm able to have this thing be like end before the end of the paragraph, so that looks better vertically. These are closer to the same size. I can play with that. If I want to get rid of this, I'm probably going to bump that back up. So, and also it might be fun to get rid of this caption here and replace that with a much nicer text, unless somewhere in the style here, if they give me some kind of options for the text. Oh yeah, they do actually. Look at this caption. So let's see, it's automatically centered, text color, typography, text shadow, spacing, that's interesting. I wonder what spacing is. I'm gonna check that out real quick. Oh wow, that's really cool. So how close you want to get to the actual object itself. I like that. Background color, text color. Okay, got all that. I'm wishing that there were things like bold. What happens if we click typography? Oh yeah, wait. Okay, so let's see what bold looks like. Iron Cat. Okay. And then style. Well, okay. Decoration, I don't care about that. Letter spacing, stretch it out. Font family defaults. So, wow, a bunch of crazy ones in here. I don't know that I want to mess with that too much. Oh, let's see. Typography. You know what I could do is I could do the letter spacing a little bit. See how all that text is kind of smushed together? So if I move it like this, let me do a obvious version of it. Okay, so see how it's really spreading apart. It makes it a little easier to see, a little easier to read. This is basically tracking for the web, right? Okay, and then I'm just curious. If I go back here, just for grins, where's my caption? Let's see, custom caption, Iron Cat. I'm just curious. I want to see what it looks like if it's all caps. Um, if that looks any better. I think it does in a sense, because now I'm noticing that this is all caps and this is all caps. And I think that looks just slightly better. So I think I'm going to keep that and update it and see how it looks. Now, I know I'm spending a lot of time on little details like this, but the God is in the details, as they say, or the devil's in the details, whatever you prefer. But I think it makes a difference. It kind of just adds up to making things look really good. Now I can see here though that because this paragraph does go down to here, and this doesn't end quite there, it looks a little strange. It would almost be nicer if I could take this paragraph back up to here and try and get this to end right about where that does. So once again, messing with this a little more, but going for the best look, and of course being aware of the fact that, like, on different devices the formatting is going to change a little bit anyway. Okay, so I don't think that's going to work out the way I want it to, because yeah, it's just, see, now this, once again, this comes to the bottom of this, and we don't get the name working very well. So let's make a little sacrifice. I like the name, but like I said, sometimes you have to make little changes and sacrifices to get things to work, right? So what have I got to do? I got to click over here on this picture. When it says custom caption, I have to go for none. I have to change it to none, and then hit update. I guess I clicked on that somehow. I didn't mean to. And then when I go back here, so this I think is the best of all of the options we've had so far. Now, because I changed this to a light box, that means we can click on it and, oh, this is nice. Oh, well, actually, That's funny. That's just the name of the file, IronCat1. If I went and renamed him IronCat, especially if it were all, the file all in caps, that would come up as like, the little mini app caption here, which would be great. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. So now I've got the text, the title here, which describes the gaming system. I've got a cool little picture of the guy from the game. I've got the Skyros thing here, and then I've got the Dragonheart thing here, and of course I have, if you recall from last week, I have this little contact form where people can sign up to learn more. So, obviously this is the only thing on the page that's looking a little funky. So what I want to do, I want to replace that. Now I don't unfortunately have a nice screenshot like this of the Dragonheart game, and the reason is because I screwed up and I didn't save the game properly, and so it tossed out all my work. I can still replicate it fairly easily because I had saved all the individual components, but I don't have one handy, unfortunately. So I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to use a little logo that I made for the Dragonheart game and just put it in here and try and get it, I'll try and get it to be the same, sort of the same dimensions as this, so that we have this nice balance of, this text and image, text and image, text and image, and then the contact form that takes up the whole page, right? And of course we've got this header thing here. So I'm concerned and paying a lot of attention to the aesthetics because they matter. People will instantly sort of make a judgment call about your web page, how professional it looks, whether they should waste their time digging into the bones of the content here, whether it's worth their while. And if you put some care, some love, and design skills into the page, it's going to make a difference, and they're going to be intrigued, and they're going to want to come in and look. Okay, so let me go grab the logo for Dragonheart and then format it so that it's in this kind of horizontal format, so it'll look good over here. Okay, so when I go over to Photoshop here, this is what I have for a graphic, and unfortunately it's not really in the horizontal format. It's more of a vertical format. Now, I can change my plans on the fly a little bit, and maybe this will be a benefit. Maybe I can leave this in the vertical format, and maybe that'll mix the page up a little bit. In other words, we had a picture over here that was kind of, vertical, and then we've got this. I could swap it up a little bit. I could move the Dragonheart text over here and put the vertical image there, or I could even just put the vertical image there and it would just be a little different from that. So let's see how that looks and if we want to stick with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the size of this, and since that IronCat worked out so well, I think I'm going to use the same numbers for my height and all that stuff. So let's go image size, and always remember to change it to 72 pixels first, and then change the width or the height. So in this case we're concerned about the height, and we want to make that 2000, which is what worked for the cat. And so now we're going to go ahead and save this as the logo. So I'll just call this DH logo, desktop, save. Okay, so now we can go to the page in progress here where we're working. We've got to do the same thing over here that we did before, which is we got to locate the gallery and get rid of this whole section. So we're going to delete that section. We're going to delete this text which says image gallery. Over here instead we're going to say that we're going to put in an image. So we got to grab this little guy and figure out where he's going to go. And then of course we have to upload the image to WordPress. So let's go down here. Let's see, DH logo, there it is. Okay, and a couple things we know from putting the cat in here before is that we want to use that medium. See how it gets too high, right, with the large. So you want to use the medium format. And it does come out kind of small over here, but that's okay. We also want to make sure we don't really need a caption on this because there's not enough room. But we do want to make it link to the light box. And so let's update this and take a look at the page now. So, and then if you click on this, it's going to be a nice big thing like that, right? Now, when I look at this, I'm not crazy about it. I think I would like it to be the wide format. I just think it would look better if it were sort of the same size as this. So I think I'm going to go into Photoshop and see if I can just widen it a little bit. And of course, I'm going to have to figure out the hell's going on with this gradient. I'm probably I could kind of cheat. I think there's a way to cheat and put like maybe black on either side of this. And that might look kind of weird too. We're just gonna have to see. So in other words, let's start by selecting the darker green color and swapping it so it's the back color, and then let's take the canvas size and make it, well, it's ginormous, isn't it? Let's see, the width is currently 20 and we want it to be something in the range of 60. So it's basically 3 times as large as that. Now that looks too wide to me, so I'm just going to crop it a little bit. So I'm just going to, sort of eyeball it. I could, potentially measure it or something like that, but I'm just going to do this by eye. So I'm going to crop that, image crop, and then even that looks a little wide to me, so I'm going to take, crop it a little more, and I'm just trying to go for the proportions of that other picture, and I could probably measure it and figure it out exactly, but let's see what happens if we, ooh, sorry, I'm not sure what I did there. I just want to go crop, image crop. Okay, that's closer. I don't know if it's exact or not, but it's close. So let's see. There are some problems with the fact that this is a gradient. Like I said, I could make a background layer and fill it with whatever color I want. I could select it all and fill it with the foreground color and make it black, and that's kind of okay, I guess. I may have to live with that, at least for now, for the placeholder perspective. But let me show you a couple of other options that are kind of like cheater options. They're probably not going to work very well, but let's just see what they look like. In fact, I'm damn sure they're not going to work very well. But one thing you could do is you could grab just the edge of this gradient here, and you can do Command T on a Macintosh or Control T on a PC, and then basically just grab this little strip and drag it over to the right, and then hit this. And what's happening is you're taking that little strip and you're pulling it out, messing it, grabbing it and dragging it across, supposedly dragging the gradient across with it. But as you can see, that's not something that worked really very well at all. So and also, I've got to admit, even if this looks really good, it would still look kind of weird to have this logo be this wide without the dragon heart maybe going all the way across like that. So instead of this ping here, I wonder if I can find the original logo and maybe reformat it like that, like take the actual gradient and stretch it wide, and take this text and make it go across. I think that would be a much better presentation than sometimes you can get away with messing around with a little ping that's already been exported, but sometimes it's just not really going to give you the best results. So let me see if I can find the original Dragonhearth logo and see if we can reformat it for that. Okay, so I have an idea how I want to fix this up. I'm gonna pause the video for a second. I'm gonna go grab the individual elements of this. I'm gonna grab this little logo. I'm going to grab this text. I'm going to get a sample of that green color. And then when I come back, we'll jump over into Photoshop. It's gonna appear like magic to you. It's gonna appear like just a second, but it's actually gonna take a minute. So let me pause and then we'll come back. Okay, now we're back. So let's jump over into Photoshop and I'll show you what I've done. Oops, not Dreamweaver. Sorry, my bad. Let me force quit that. All right, and let's jump over into Photoshop. Okay, so this is what I did. So you know, you'll recall, I'll turn some of these layers off like this. So you'll recall that we ended up something like here. We tried to stretch this gradient out, and we just got this solid color. And then I had a black background. You know, I'd seen what it looked like with the black background, and that gave me an idea. So I thought, what if I made this look more like a flag? You know, if there was this black was replicated here and here. So if I turn this black off, I made a, you know, a sample. I made a selection of this black area here and copied it so that I could have it in both places, right? And then this, which is the old graphic, is pretty much gone now. But I sampled the green color, the darkest green color, and put that in as a background. So now we have this sort of flag type of appearance. Now then, I put the logo in, and I just, you know, that's just black, and I have that just sitting here in the green, down low enough. But then I have the dragon heart kind of going across everything, and it's got the drop shadow on it, which is in the original logo file. And so I think that looks kind of cool. And maybe it's something, you know, I can use in the game as well. So let me save that as a graphic, and of course I can always trim it down on the sides. It looks a little wide to me for what's going to be on the web page, but let's just see what that looks like. So we'll call it we'll go into the desktop. Well, actually, I want to save it in two places. So I want to call it dragon flag, and I want to save it. You know, you always save a master file inside your folder so you can mess with it later. And then we're also going to save on the desktop dragon flag as a PNG. And of course, I have to remember that this is 72, which means it's low resolution. So I might want to, you know, scale it up, remake it at 300 for printing purposes and things like that. So this is going on the desktop dragon flag, and then that's what's going to end up replacing this box. What's in this box here? So we'll go here. We'll go to the upload files again. And we'll come down to dragon flag, which I'm not seeing. Oh, maybe I'm just not far enough down. Let's see. Dragon. Oh boy, lots of dragons on this computer. Let's see. Dragon flag would be somewhere in here, you would think. Oh, there it is. 2 words. Okay, so we'll let this bad boy upload. When it's fully uploaded, this insert media light will become active. Yeah, and what's nice about it is it just fills up that space, which is great. We still have the, let's see, no caption, but we do have the link to the media file, so we can upload that. This, I don't know, this logo looks a little dark here, you know, but we could, you know, we can always come back and fix that later. So let's just see how this whole thing looks. So, okay, we got the top part. Scroll down a little bit, middle part, and then, whoa, that's crazy. Oh, I think I know why. This is because, you know, we had changed it to be that medium size because it was a vertical. So what we have to do is we have to change this. Yeah, see how it's medium? We have to go back to what it was set at, which was this large size here. And then we have to update it. And then when we go back, hopefully it will look on the real page the way that it looks here. So let's see. Yep. Okay, good. Now we're happy. Okay, and then we can click on that and we can see this big picture here. Okay, looks really good. Looks like I could use a little space between this this thing right here and this, it just looks a little close to me. So let me go down here. Let me click on this section here. Now there's several things I could do. I could do just kind of sort of one thing that would probably work is just to put space in here. That might be the sort of down and dirty quick way to get a change. You know, I was thinking I might have to put some margin top in there to push this away from that by putting some space on the top. But you know, if the carriage return, as they say, as they said in the old days of typing, hitting the return key, if that works, then you know, more power to us, right? And you know, there could be even more space here. In fact, there probably should be, because you can see how much space there is there. And when you're getting multiple spaces, you know, maybe the return, the enter button is not the greatest idea. Oh, let's see. I gotta remember. I can never remember to work just over here, because you see the text right there. It feels like you should be able to use it, but it never seems to work very well. I'm not sure why this is all grayed out. Let me do Command Z on that. Yeah, it's pretty bizarre that that's all grayed out. Oh, there. Okay, there we go. All right, I gotta sneeze here for a sec, so excuse me. Oh, okay. It's one of those sneezes that sneaks up on you and then goes. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. All right. So now I think what I'm going to do is click on the section and look for my style options, maybe my advanced options. Yeah. So margin top. So what you want to do is uncheck this chain link here so you can do everything separately, different. And then if you start moving this button up, you see how it puts some spacing between the top of this section and that section, right? And you know, we don't want to go too nuts. Maybe 100's a nice number. I don't know. It's a round number, so to speak. And then let's hit update. Now, the spacing here is not going to be quite as much as it is in between those other areas, but that's okay. You know, you don't want perfect everything on every page. It gets kind of boring, but you know, certainly I think that looks a lot better. There's just that negative space for the eye to sort of breathe, as it were, move around the page. So I think this looks pretty good. Now, I spent a lot of time doing just little wonky things, little detailed things. You know, I'm probably going to come back in here, and I think I might actually reduce some of the space in here because it looks a little big. You know, in those areas, maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll just try to get it down to be this spacing right here. Let's see if we can quickly and easily do that. So once again, you go up here, you click on the section, you go to your advanced, you uncheck this. In this case, margin top, you want it to actually be a negative number, which will move this up, right? And let's just see if we can get this up a little bit so that the spacing here looks a little bit like the spacing there. And maybe whatever number we come up with here, we'll do up at the top as well. Now, it's not going to be perfect, but it's better, right? So negative 55 is, wow. But look at this. There's this huge chunk here, which already is at least that space and more. So we're clearly not going to be able to go as high up with this one, because see, it'll start to cover the text there of that one. So you got to be careful about this stuff. So let's hit update. Let's you know, and you can see the spacing has gotten less. This is the same, but the spacing between those two has gotten less. And then spacing between these two is less, but it's still more than I would like. And like I said, I'm afraid that this could mess up. Oh, here's the problem right here. I just noticed this. See this thing? It says padding at the top. The padding is 150. That's way too much. So first of all, let me bring this down a little bit, because I don't like sections being too close to each other. That can mess them up. But let's take this padding at the top. Oh yeah, look at that. It's craziness. Here, let's set this margin back to 0. And then let's just do it with the padding. Like, I don't even know who uh, who came up with that. I think it was just in there already. Hope it wasn't me. You never know. You can go back and look at the videos and find the villain. It was probably me. Um, okay, so now we go back to this, and this looks better to me. So I could use a little spacing for wildcore there. I could use that to come down from the top. So that would be this section here. Oh, damn it. I didn't mean to do that. Come on, clicky. All right, and then advanced, uncheck, excuse me. So just move this down a little bit just so that there's a little spacing there. You know, granted, these builder plugins take a little while to get used to, but once you get the hang of it, it can be pretty good. I would like more. I would like more spacing there. So let me keep going. Maybe that, let's see. It's kind of hard to tell in here when all you can see are these blue lines, what it's going to look like. Yeah, I like that a lot better. Okay, so now I've got that. I've got much less spacing in here. You know, there's more spacing in here than there is up here, but not much. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, perfection is kind of boring. So, you know, it makes it kind of mixes it up a little bit, so to speak. So, you know, if you go back and you look at you look at the beginning of this video and how this page looked at the beginning, it was definitely kind of a big mess compared to how it is now. Now you have some nice formatting, you've got some nice pictures, which are of course clickable as blow-ups, and you've got, you know, the correct information in here instead of just placeholders. And now you've got a page that is interesting and will hopefully create the desired effect of, you know, the conversion, so to speak, of getting people to link over to click on the link to the convention and sign up for the game, you know, either or both of these games, and then also possibly sign up for your email newsletter. Okay, and we'll come back because we still haven't really spent a lot of time looking at the article and applying things like search engine keywords and stuff to this page. So we'll do a little look-see at that on Wednesday and take this a little further down the road. That's it for today. Please keep working on your websites and let me know when you've got those done. You're going to need to send me a link to your website with your website URL on it, because you're creating your own accounts, I won't know where your website is, so you'll have to send me a link to that when you're done with the final website project. Okay, so have a good week, and I will talk to you again on Wednesday.